Tsunami Disaster Mitigation Center of Acara, it was established 3 years after 2004 tsunami. For today, I would like to present a presentation about the small story that's saving lives during the 2004 tsunami, with the perspective of knowledge management, data information, knowledge, and how we can make these local resources for disaster reactions to save lives. Okay, next. Next. So as we can see, the 2004 tsunami is one of very catastrophic disasters in this century, with more than 250,000 people killed this event. But in the context of Aceh, we try to understand why non-people of Aceh is significant in these incidents. And then we try to connect with what our conditions in the time of how much we know about disaster, about the tsunami. So the significant numbers during the numbers of people were affected by the 2020 tsunami. It's attributable to the lack of disaster information and also knowledge how they try to save their lives. Next. And this is one of the framework that maybe every us understand what that, especially this knowledge data, and also in the context of archive. So the archive should be useful in helping people to save their lives. So if we can see from these figures, from the fact that data, information, and knowledge, knowledge. So when we try to compare what actually the situations before the 2000 tsunami, since we have no enough knowledge about the tsunami itself, so it's only maybe we have no information about that tsunami. But now after the 2004 tsunami, we, in the context of Indonesia, and then we change our paradigms, how we try to manage disaster reductions by also we are now having NPB, International, Acara, we call it National Disaster Management Agency, in national level and also in province and also district level. So which means that we learned so much from 2004 tsunami. But again, in the context of this knowledge data, knowledge is not enough. We need to make sure whether the knowledge can help the community to make an appropriate decision and actions when they face a similar situation, for example, disaster. So that's what we call it the community resilience. Next, please. And in the context of my presentations, and also in the context of Indonesia, since our culture, that's what we call it oral culture, which means that most of the knowledge transmitted by the oral culture, not well documented. So this is one of our problems as well in the context of Indonesia. In the context of knowledge management, we call it interactions between tacit and explicit knowledge. So tacit knowledge is something that could be not touched, something that is not easy to see. For example, love, belief, trust. It's a kind of tacit knowledge. But the explicit knowledge is something that we can touch, we can see directly, and we can learn from that. For example, books, something like that, an archive. So this is also how we try to understand in the context of knowledge transmissions, how they try to understand how our community try to adapt with the changes of environment such as disaster and how the knowledge transmit through the generations. So we need more than actual knowledge because it's not well documented. So this is one of our challenge in the context of Indonesia, how we try to make sure that knowledge is transmitted well through the generation. Okay, next please. And now we try to understand about the smoke. Yeah, actually, the smoke is one of the words that means tsunami. Tsunami is adopted by countries what we already know about the phenomenon of big earthquake, rising of seawater, and then seawater reaches the land. So this is what we call a tsunami. But small, we have Simodo Islands. Yeah, Simodo Island is located in the western part of Aceh. Yeah. As you can see in the picture, during the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, only 3 people reported killed from 80,000 population in these islands. Yeah. But if we compare to what happened in the mainland of Aceh, more than 250,000 people killed. So this is also one of the big questions for us, especially researchers. Why? Yeah, what are the success factors of smoke in saving lives during the 2003 ocean tsunami? And then why in the mainland of Aceh they could not recognize, they could not save their lives when the tsunami occurred? And based on the history, the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami not only one tsunami hit Aceh, but also there were several tsunami people. And one we closed with the 2004, that on January 4, 1907, there were big earthquake, 7.8 magnitude, and followed by the tsunami. In the epicenter were located in the northern part of islands, and at the time there were a big wave, a big tsunami, around 15 until 30 meters, and based on the information that I could get, more than 50% of the students people at the time killed. So which means 1907 tsunami is one of the sad history in the Tsunami Islands history. Okay, next please. So this is a map of Tsunami Islands when we conducted research there in 2016 and 2017. I found that there are 3 local languages that exist until now there. The people who are living in the northern part, southern part of the islands, they speak a defiant language. So the word of the smoke is come from the defiant language. And the people who are living in the northern part of the islands, they speak singular language, and only 2 villages they speak Sledcom. So why is this important in the context of our research? Because I also conduct narrative research, try to collect many information about the small story from the field. So I should understand about the local context. In the context of the school, I identify language take the most important role in delivering of the small message. Next, please. So what samples of the story that I found, because I also collect some of data from all of the part of the islands. So examples are the people who are living in the northern part of the islands, they call it small as Hmong, because they speak difference with the people who are living in the southern part islands. So which means that the definition of the small is quite different with what understood by the people who are living in the southern part. But the most story told about the 1907 story. So what happened in the 1907 century? The big earthquake occurred, followed by the receding of seawater. But unfortunately, many people saw the the fish landed on the sea, right? And then they try to pick up the fish, and then suddenly the small or the sea reached the land. So this is the reason why, and then some of the documents told about more than 50% of the small islands related from it. Next, please. So this is one of example. I have this actually video. Can you play the video? Okay. So this is a kind of nafi-nafi. Nafi-nafi is one of the local culture.
Terjadi pada masa lampau, ada anak-anak mereka dengan cara yang dapat diterima melalui kearifan lokal. Sebut saja nafi-nafi, budaya lokal masyarakat Simeru berupa adat bertutur atau cerita yang berisikan nasihat dan berbuah kehidupan serta semua kepada generasi muda.
Okay. Oh, please. So this is one of the local medias, traditional media that they call nafi-nafi. Nafi-nafi is a kind of oral story. So the nafi-nafi tells about something that happened, the important event that happened in the past that had some insights need to be transferred to the generations, and they call it nafi-nafi. And one of the content of nafi-nafi told about the 1907 tsunami. So the media to translate the small story is in nafi-nafi. And this is some of the an example of the small story of the tsunami risk of the nafi-nafi. In the up box, it message about tell about the 1907, and then after in the second spot told about what should we do after that. Next, please. And also they have another traditional media. Boleh putar kembali ini video juga.
Yang dari syair-syairnya bercerita tentang nasihat dan petuah serta kisah kejadian semua masa lampau untuk menjadi pelajaran bagaimana menghadapi gelombang besar yang sering disebut semua oleh masyarakat Simeru.
Okay, so this is another traditional channel, and next please. Next. So this is an example of small lyric about tsunami risk from Nando. So as you can see the lyric, but the most important thing that I want to say in this slide, as you can see, smoke to make more in the local language, but the translation of smoke is your path. How we can imagine a tsunami as a path. And then earthquake is your swing back. And the storm is your music, and the back is your down. So which means that I asked the local people what is the meaning of this, how we can imagine trying to play with the disaster. So they told me we don't need worries about the situation since we prepare ourselves, so we can handle everything. Okay, next please. So this is the summary of the strong story, not only to tell about the tsunami phenomena, but also the actions to be taken by people, and it should be transmitted to next generations. Next please. This is some optical evidences that we can get from the small islands. I think next is, I tried to develop how we try to understand about the small story to the community resilience why, and then the small island people self when the 2004 tsunami. Okay, next. And I want to close my presentation by giving you an all African photo. When an individual person dies, the whole library stays. So which means that knowledge material is really important to capture something from our field, what the ancestors had to be transmitted to the next generations. That's all what I think. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.